Matthew Berry, senior fantasy football analyst at ESPN, joins the show now. Matthew, we appreciate some time. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good.
Excited for the season to start soon.
We are all fired up down here for sure. The Saints have been so predictably potent for so long with the constants of Sean Payton and Drew Brees. I want to get your thoughts on what you think about this offense now that it's under new direction.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, obviously. Fantasy-wise, look, we still expect Alvin Kamara to be a superstar. He should be one of the top 3 picks in any fantasy football draft where people know what they're doing. But after that, it's a lot of question marks, right? I mean, do I think Jameis Winston has the ability to be a good NFL quarterback? I do. We've obviously seen him have success at a high level. The concern with him fantasy-wise is twofold. Number one is he doesn't run, right? And you think about how important it is to have a quarterback that can get you fantasy points with their legs and their arms. Last year, 8 of the top 10 fantasy quarterbacks in terms of scoring had at least 200 yards rushing. That doesn't include Dak Prescott, who would have been there had he had not gotten injured. Doesn't include Jalen Hurts, who would have been there had he played more than 4 games. So you need a quarterback that's mobile, and that's just not Jameis. Then you add to the fact that Taysom Hill is going to have some packages for him, whether it's red zone packages or certain select plays. Like if Taysom Hill was getting playing time with Drew Brees, I assure you he's going to get playing time with Jameis Winston. So the fact that Jameis might get quote-unquote vultured at the goal line or, Hill comes in for some red zone packages really hampers the fantasy upside of Winston. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the pass catchers once Michael Thomas comes back, but the fact that he's out for 6 games, it's kind of wide open. I think Marquez Callaway, who obviously has had a huge preseason, I think he's a really interesting sort of flyer. He's undrafted in over 50% of ESPN leagues. So, I have a column coming out tomorrow where I mention him as somebody that should be picked up prior to week 1 because I do think he becomes the number 1 receiver on this team. And also, the Saints have always, under Sean Payton, had a fantasy-relevant tight end. Obviously, the heydays of Jimmy Graham, but even Jared Cook last couple of years. And with Cook now with the Chargers, that spot's wide open. A lot of people liked Adam Trotman early in the preseason, but it seems like Juwan Johnson has been coming on strong. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if Trotman can come back, if he's healthy, and what happens with the tight end position. One of those guys is maybe worth a flyer at the end of your draft.
You buying or selling your stock in Jamar Chase right now? I have him on my fantasy bitch. I still got faith in the kid. What do you think about him?
I'm sorry, who?
Jamar Chase.
Oh, Jamar Chase. Look, Jamar Chase is probably the best wide receiver prospect the last 15 years. So honestly, prior I was selling, but I'm actually now buying because I'm buying the dip because he's had a couple of high-profile drops. Whatever, he's looked a little rusty. He was out of football for a year. Okay, fine, but it's going to be a high-volume offense. Remember, before Joe Burrow got hurt last year, he led the NFL in pass attempts. So my expectation here is that the Bengals defense once again be really bad. They're going to be throwing a lot. I think Jamar Chase probably starts slow like a lot of rookies do, but second half of the year, watch out. And considering Chase continues to drop in fantasy drafts, I do think he's certainly interesting at his current ADP.
There's value to be had in rookies because they haven't proven anything yet. Any rookies you specifically have your eye on?
Well, the obvious ones are Najee Harris, of course, in Pittsburgh. I have him as a top 10 running back. He's going to get a ton of volume there. In terms of other players, look, I love Trey Lance. I know he's not the starter yet in San Francisco, but it's a question of when, not if. And he's going to be a fantasy superstar as soon as he's done. Again, as we talked about, quarterbacks they can get you fantasy points with their legs and their arms. And so, Trey Lance, Justin Fields as well, both guys I think will be fantasy starters as soon as they become real NFL starters. And I don't mind grabbing either of those guys and stashing them on the bench. Look, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith are really interesting as well. I like Diami Brown, third-round pick out of North Carolina for the Washington football team. Looks like he's going to get a start this weekend with Curtis Samuel banged up. So those are some of the rookies that you keep an eye on. But, you never know. Like at this time last year, everyone was talking about Henry Ruggs. No one was really talking about Justin Jefferson, right? And obviously he had a monster season.
Matthew, your time, really appreciated. As we go into week 1 here, anybody you kind of have your eye on that may be below the radar that might be worth a start this week?
Look, you know what? I do think if you're in a deeper league and you're looking for a quarterback streamer, how about Kirk Cousins? Again, we talked about that Cincinnati defense that's so brutal. Minnesota is playing the Bengals. I think the Vikings have a pretty good offense. They don't get a lot of credit. People are already starting Jefferson and Thielen and Dalvin Cook, but I do think Kirk Cousins is a real interesting streamer this week if you need some help immediately.
ESPN fantasy football expert, he is Matthew Berry. Matthew, we appreciate some time.
Appreciate it, guys. Good luck this year.